Carson. Thank you. This is the Carson Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Committee meeting Tuesday, June 28th. We're here and I'm calling it to order. We all kind of know each other. If not, we have your names and feel free when we ask for questions, you can specifically ask questions, and we're going to have a question and answer period for Captain Damon Jones, so one who is leading our police protection for the city of Carson and beyond, as Lena used to say, Carson and beyond. We support them, and I'd like to go into my chairman's report. The vision of the Carson Chamber of Commerce is to showcase Carson. They would call me as soon as I start talking. Excuse me for that. I'm in my business office. Thank you. What we do here is that our vision for the economic development in Carson is to showcase Carson. We want to showcase Carson. This is a unique place. Sit here surrounded by the 405, the 110, the 710, the 91, and also the Alameda Corridor runs through the city. We're 8 miles from the ports of LA and Long Beach. We are situated within a beautiful trade zone area and commerce. And what I'm doing now is to see how we can get further information to the community to showcase our community. Our methodology is to give information. Also, we want to give aspiration to our business community and our community for growth. And what we're trying to do is to inspire leadership from our community so that they can understand that we all work together for business, for important economic development. And I see we have the university represented here, we have businesses, and we have the youth groups represented here. My whole thing is to, number one, showcase Carson. We have today as our main speaker, Captain Damon Jones. And what we're doing here, he is the Carson Sheriff Station captain, and our Economic Development Committee meeting has an idea that our meeting should be a part of the policy of the Carson Chamber of Commerce to strengthen our internal partnerships with key city departments, local community businesses, community leaders, and key organizations. We've requested information on some major topics. Number of officers and squad car assignments under his command. The community relations initiatives. I'm really impressed with the coffee with the Carson Station, and he'll talk about that. How he's protecting our malls and shopping centers. No one's running through our mall and smash and grab. Our people, we want us to be protected also in our small businesses.
You've got mail.
And residences. And also, I'm interested in how he initiates conflict resolution. Also, we have our parks, and he has special details for our parks. And for our kids can be safe in their evening baseball games and initiatives, and also at the parks. None of our parks are havens for negativity. We have people to protect them. We have great city staff from the city and also from the sheriff department. Right now, I like to give some time to Captain Damon Jones to give his information. And also at the end, you can start asking him some questions. Thank you, Captain. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am,
Morning.
as you stated, I'm Captain Damon A. Jones, the captain here at Carson Sheriff Station. I believe I've met pretty much all of you all at some point since I've been back as the captain. I'll give you a little brief history on myself. I've been on the department 26 years. I've worked a numerous amount of assignments in patrol, custody, as well as in some specialized units. This is my third tour here at Carson Station. I was here in the early 2000s as a deputy sheriff. I left, went and worked some other units, came back in 2010 as a sergeant, did a couple other assignments, and then through all the tough competition, I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be chosen as the captain here in January 2021. It's been a great career, as well as one thing that I've bid my career on is just partnering with people and accepting others and taking in others' opinion. And so as the captain, that's kind of the mindset that I've taken as I've come back and hire individuals to work with me as well as work for me, is to get people who think like me and understand the importance of partnership, good communication. I believe in holding my people accountable, as well as, addressing complaints, and as well as pushing my people so that they can be successful. Because I think if I push my people to be successful and I set the example, they'll go out and reflect that and be involved in the community, engaged. So that's a little bit about me. I am very thankful for the chamber. Since I've been back, I think it's on a monthly basis that the chamber has been reaching out and invite me to different events, as well as just helping me to be involved with them and getting to know different people. So I'm very thankful for that. I know last week I was unable to attend the breakfast, but my operations lieutenant attended, and she had a marvelous time. So I want to thank you all for that. I'll get into some of the questions and points that were brought up and asked for me to cover. And so I'll get going. One of the things that I was asked was, hey, Captain Jones, what is the station's, kind of short-term, long-term, or mid-term goals? What's your plan, or, what's your outlook going forward for the station? And, when I look at my short-term and long-term goals, and when I sit down and meet with my staff, we lay out things. But one thing we always remind ourselves is that these plans, these goals, they're active and they're living. So they may change, as well as some of them may adjust. Some of the time frames, some of our expectations may adjust based on what we do achieve, as well as what other opportunities are identified. So I have kind of 6 areas that I'm focusing in on, and that I have as short, mid, and long-term goals that as a station we would like to move forward towards. That first one, I think, is the one we all want to make sure, and that's just maintaining a low crime rate, making sure we reduce the amount of people who are victims of crime, and that we also bring those who are responsible for pillaging and harming those in our community to justice. In doing that, I want to make sure we protect, this is our chamber. We protect over 3,000 businesses we have inside our city. And going along with my philosophy, part of that is, in order to maintain that low crime and do crime prevention and suppress crime, we have to make sure that we're working together, ensure that the safety and well-being for every resident, every person that passes through our city, every business person, that they feel comfortable and they feel safe. I think another aspect of that is being part and engaging and sustaining community-based organizations, because I think the community-based organizations, along with the businesses and the residents working collectively, is the key aspect, because there's communication that will help keep that crime low. And just in that same first goal, I just want to make sure that we have long-lasting success. When my team and I look at trying to mitigate issues and create resources as well as address things, we want to make sure we're not being like a band-aid or a quick triage. We're looking for long lasting success. We want to make sure the things that we're putting in place as we're working with the city, as we're working with the Boys and Girls Club, as we're working with some of our community-based groups, as we're working with some of our schools and different things, that the prevention, the intervention, the mentoring, and the technology, everything is long lasting. It's not just good for either that week or that moment. And then I just want to continue to make sure that we're deploying appropriately to whatever issues it may be, whether it be street raising, whether it be catalytic converter theft, whether it be vehicle theft, whether it be, just our businesses being harmed by some type of crime. We want to make sure that we're having aggressive suppression and confronting that crime when and wherever it may be occurring. One of my next goals and plans is we want to create a youth activities league at some point. What we have found is intervention, some type of keeping kids engaged in education, after school programs, or just showing them the positive aspects of law enforcement and being part of them, plays a major role in making sure we don't have our young folks' life wasted and they don't turn into either, unfortunately, a career criminal, or they turn to substance abuse or start making a large number of bad or negative decisions. So one of the things is to just look at a way we can somehow at some point have a youth activities league, which will have after school programs, will help with tutoring. We'll try to bring in, some different programs for arts and interests of some of the different youths, so that they have other alternatives, because we know when they have that idle time, they usually make idle and negative bad decisions. So that's another one of our goals. Another one of my goals that also we're looking at is just adding additional patrol assets. The city of Carson, as you see, is booming, is growing. There's more housing complexes going on. We just talked about the food eateries and a number of businesses that are coming into our great city. And so with that, we want to make sure we're giving the proper coverage so that we can respond to calls for service or even prevent those crimes by having that visibility and being out there. So one of the things is just growing the contract. And then as I've been looking at some of the times we have various crimes that are occurring, that 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. appears to be some of our busiest times. So one of the things I'm looking at is possibly adding another overlap car in that time frame, which we would call a PM EM overlap car, because that's one of our busiest times. You talked about protecting our mall and some of our businesses. We currently have one mall deputy assigned who works 4 days a week. So it's 4 days a week, 10-hour shift, who covers the mall. I want to look at, in addition to that one dedicated deputy, adding an additional mall car that's a permanent mall car, 7 days a week, and it's a two deputies that will be able to cover that. When I say we have the one mall car, I don't want you guys to think, oh man, there's just one deputy that covers the entire mall. Obviously, we have our other patrols and other units who are driving around and they come by and they do patrol checks of the mall. But that one deputy is specifically just to be at the mall. We also, which we've already started the talks, the city is already ready to go with it. It's just our department has to wait to the new fiscal year and maybe start it. We're going to be adding 2 more deputies to our parks team. We currently have 4 deputies on our parks teams who cover our south end as well as our north end parks. We have park coverage 7 days a week, and primarily at the busiest time. So usually our park coverage deputies are there from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that's 7 days a week. But we were looking with the city to try to have additional coverage, because we realize, and what we want is our community members to be using our parks. We have a lot of great parks in the city, and we think the more people are using them and engaged and just being out, it's going to lower the stress level, as well as just create a more positive environment. But we also want them to feel safe, and we think seeing those additional officers, seeing those deputies will help them feel safe. And then one of the last things when it comes to growing our contract and just different things I would like to do is make sure we're taking advantage and using technology. Our world is constantly changing, and I think it's so important that we also change and take advantage and use technology. And the city, has bought into it. We're already working on it. We're getting some quotes and RFPs on trying to have additional cameras throughout the city, because when it's so beneficial, and it's been beneficial. We've caught so many folks who stolen vehicles because some of the cameras that we already have, it reads the license plate, it goes back to the deputies, it goes to our dispatch, and then they can immediately start checking the vicinity for a stolen vehicle once that license plate or that information is put in. And we think the more we have cameras and other technology put in throughout the city, as well as within even our department, we have more advanced technology in our patrol cars, and even at the station, that will only help us be more efficient. Moving on to one of my next, goals, plans, and things I want to accomplish is, I believe I've only made it to where I am because people have invested in me. And I feel as part of, as being a supervisor, a manager, the captain, the leader, I have to make sure that I'm investing in my people, helping them grow and be the best that they can be. So the first part is that it's just identifying those who have those leadership qualities, making sure I'm mentoring them. I'm putting some of my other supervisors in position to make sure they're able to mentor and give good direction, help them get additional training, help them have additional resources, help them get additional education or whatever it may be, as well as in that, make sure I'm strengthening the culture at the station of accountability. I'm strengthening the culture of the station of being transparent. And then just like I said, make sure I'm creating professional growth opportunities for our employees so that they can be successful in their own career, but that Carson Station could be successful, because if Carson Station is successful, it will help them do a better job to make sure the city of Carson is successful. Because as much as I love Carson and love the station, just how I came in as a new captain, at some point, there'll be someone else who will be coming in. And I think, looking forward, and that sustainability is very important to making sure the station as well as the city is very successful. Two of my last two goals and plans are to strengthen our relationship with the community. We are a unique city. I've worked a couple other patrol stations, and I do brag that Carson is unique. We have, I think, one of the best relationships with not our city executive staff, our city management, as well as our community members. We've all seen the rhetoric and some of the temperature going on since mid 2020 regarding law enforcement, with the defund and the protests and different things. And even prior to me coming back to Carson, and since I've been back, we haven't seen that sentiment. We've been getting the donuts, the coffee, the food, the pizza, the chicken. We've been getting the thank you notes and the commendations, and people coming by and giving the waves and the handshakes. So one thing I want to make sure that we're doing is we're continuing to build that relationship with the community. And some of the ways that I got to make sure that some of our programs we need to revitalize, and some we just to make sure we keep going, is like our block clubs and our block club group. We actually have a quarterly block captain meeting coming up tomorrow evening. And one of the things, and working with Rayanne Munoz over at the city public safety office, we're going to do a big recruiting campaign, because we want the people to realize that as great as, you guys give the sheriff deputies the credit, the success of the community and crime prevention is the community members, those block captains, those block clubs being involved, because they are the eyes and ears for us. They are the ones that's making the phone calls. They are the one that's giving us some of that important information. So one of the things is to make sure we expand and revitalize our block club and block captain program. We want to try to build up our station volunteers. Our station volunteers, they're all getting a little older, and it's trying to make sure that we are recruiting that young group, as well as our volunteer and patrol program. You guys probably have seen, we have the volunteers who drive around in the white patrol cars, and they go do patrol checks when people are on vacation, or they'll do, just regular patrol checks to see, and leave notices, hey, your side gate was open, or different things of that nature. And we want to build that volunteer and patrol program back up, as well as our community academy. Our community academy is one of the best things that I am so proud that the department as a whole has done, and I want to make sure we're doing it. And it's an academy where, once a week we get some community members. They're able to come to the station. We go over some policies, some procedures with them, just to explain to them just why and what some of the things that we do as law enforcement. They get a tour of the station. We kind of go over some of the booking process and why, how people are booked, and why certain crimes are written certain ways, and we go over some of the elements of different crimes, and we just give them a little bit better picture of the daily operation of not just Carson Station, but law enforcement as a whole. And then I want to also make sure that we're continuing to use, going back to the technology aspect I mentioned earlier, we're continuing to use social media and web-based platforms to disseminate information. Everyone, it seems to appear, is either on some type of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or whatever. So I think it's very important that we are using all these different social media platforms and outlets to make sure we're disseminating information, but at the same time, not discriminating those who may not. So we're still going to use the old school flyers, newspapers, print, because that's still important, because there's still a lot of folks who still gather their information in that way. And then lastly, one of my goals is, it's just our station as a whole to continue to make sure we're making facility improvements. And some of it is the basic logistics, from plumbing, electrical, and existing utilities, and to where other things we need to do some upgrades, with Wi-Fi, as well as some other infrastructure and restructuring things. And then lastly, in that, we need to make sure we improve our emergency operations center, because I am cognizant of the different critical facilities that we have in our area, such as our refineries. We have the major university, as well as the major hospital in Torrance is something that we cover. And if anything was to ever happen to any one of those facilities, I want to make sure that we are able to properly respond and protect those critical facilities, but also if they need to be of use, make sure they're able to be used and no one else is being harmed. Those are some of my short, mid, and long-term goals that I have for our station, as well as our community, in regards to the part that Carson Sheriff Station will be playing. Is there any questions before I move on to some other things I want to cover?
Yes, the question, I have one basic question and a secondarily basic question. The number of officers, squad car assignments, which you did touch, under your command, how many troops do you have? I'm pretty familiar with how the X and Y cars go, because I was in city service for the city for 33 years, so I kind of understand. But my whole issue is that how many officers do you have, and we do support, and I think our chamber will support growing your groups that will be out there protecting the city. So we just want to know where you have now, and then and the second thing is, how is the department thinking about the Olympics, which is like tomorrow? It's 2028. We are going to have a lot of programs, especially over at the Dignity Health Park. But there's traffic concerns. I notice that you have officers there for our traffic for the soccer, but it's going to be times 12 when this Olympics comes. So I just wanted to find out about number of officers under your command and how you use your X and Y cars. And we're going to find out what are your kind of plans for 2028.
Okay. So I'll give you a little bit of breakdown of the personnel as well as the cars. The Carson Station, we're budgeted. We have 223 total personnel at the station. So that's 184 sworn officers. So that can be, I'm considered one of the sworn officers. That includes the captain, the lieutenants, the sergeants, and the deputies. So we have 184 sworn and 39 professional staff at the station. We also have 7 reserve deputies who, for their 20 hours a week, they come in and they do patrol out in the station, sometime in a 2-man car, sometime in a 1-man car. On a daily basis, we deploy 24 cars in the city, and then on a daily basis we deploy 17 cars in the county area. And that varies on the different shifts. So obviously early mornings is the shift where most people are asleep, and that's usually 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Most people are asleep. So we usually have 6 cars on early morning shift in the city. On day shift, we'll usually have around 10 cars out in the city. And then on PM shift, we'll have 8 cars in the city. Now, a lot of those cars, they overlap. So you'll have a 2 or to a 4 hour overlap. So there are sometimes throughout each part of the day where, even though I said there's 10 cars on day shift, for example, you'll actually have maybe 14 to 15 cars on at one time, because some of the early morning shift cars will be overlapping in the beginning 2 to 4 hours, and then on that back end, some of the PM shift cars will be overlapping the end of the day shift. So that's a little bit of a breakdown of the number of just normal routine call for service patrol cars that are assigned. But in addition to those regular cars that are deployed on a daily basis, the city also pays for special assignment officers teams. So we have a North and a South team, which is made up of 10 members. That's 10 deputies as well as 2 sergeants who also assist in preventing crime, or they'll respond to quality of life issues and different specific targeted things we're trying to address. We also have 2 host deputies who are specifically dealing with homeless outreach, as well as trying to appropriately address the homeless issues, bring resources, wraparound services. They work a lot with St. Joseph's. They work a lot with LASA, as well as some of our local community groups to try to get those who are homeless, maybe suffering from mental illness, maybe suffering from substance abuse, some type of assistance. But as you know, that is challenging at times, because sometimes folks don't want it, but we don't give up on them. But at the same time, we want to make sure what our homeless team does is they still make sure that they're regulating that public space and make sure our small businesses or even our large businesses aren't affected by homeless who may be loitering or soliciting or just hanging out in front of their businesses, because that's what we don't want. We also have, like I mentioned earlier, the parks team deputies. We have 4 parks team deputies, a school resource deputy, as well as the station is made up of narcotics and gang detectives. We have our regular detectives, a traffic unit, as well as our training, scheduling, and community relations department. And then on average, when you look at the city as well as the unincorporated county area that we cover, on average, we respond to 190 to 230 calls for service per day. You asked about the Olympics.
Yep.
We started, I want to say it was last September, October. We had an initial meeting. It was the Sheriff's Department, Cal State Dominguez, as well as the folks at Dignity Health. And we just had some initial meetings, and the initial meetings have focused on a lot of what you mentioned will be the traffic, as well as the logistics and safe transportation of those who will be coming and going to use the Dignity Health Park for some of the events that we were having. But not only just the events, a lot of Dignity Health will also be used for practice facilities. So we begin the initial stages of figuring out how are we going to properly escort as well as prevent traffic, because we want to do everything we can to make sure those residents who live on the north end of the city, as well as those businesses up on the north end of the city, they aren't negatively affected. Now, if more people want to come shop and buy and patronize, yes, we do want that, but we don't want people to be negatively affected by it. So we have began some of our initial conversations with them being focused a lot on traffic. We know we will be doing additional hiring of staff, just like we do for the soccer games and the concerts and different events that we have currently now. But as we continue to move forward, we'll continue to make sure that we're putting together a proper operations plan and bringing in the right logistics, as well as getting our emergency operation bureau and folks involved in that. But one thing that we know is the MTA, as well as like the Blue Line, that's going to be a big hub, because they're looking at ways how we're going to transport people like from the Blue Line, which is off of Delamo, and
Yep.
710 over safely to Dignity Health and back, as well as we have a lot of bus hubs who turn around at Cal State Dominguez. So those are some of the areas that we're already starting to focus and target on. But as we continue to move closer as well as meet, we will make sure that it's handled appropriately and that we limit the amount of congestion as well as negative impact on the residents and community members up there.
Thank you.
Captain Jones, I have a question. This is Lena Whitaker. Well, two
Yes, ma'am.
questions, really. I had to step away, so I wanted to hear a little bit about your air patrol, but if you've covered that, you don't have to go over it. I can look at it on the recording. The other thing you mentioned about the meeting that you had with Dignity Health. Now, is this just the meeting between the sheriff's station and Dignity Health, or
No, ma'am, it was multiple entities on that meeting. But I know there was a representative from our Transit Service Bureau, which covers the Blue Line, MTA, Cal State Dominguez was on there, Dignity Health was on there, as well as there was, I think, a representative from Office of Homeland Security and someone who is involved with the planning with the Olympics. But there was multiple entities on that meeting, but I know for sure those specific entities were on here.
because I was thinking that probably the chamber needs to be involved in that meeting as well. We probably, if, I don't know, maybe not at this particular level at the time, but as we move forward, getting more involved with the, with actually getting everything together, that probably would be something the chamber would probably want to sit in on as well. So again, thank you so much. But back to the original, my other question was that your air patrol, did you talk about that yet?
No, I didn't mention air patrol. So our department has a number of helicopters who are deployed on a 24-hour basis. But unless there's fog or heavy rain, then obviously they will not, they'll be down, they won't be deployed up. For any emergent robbery now, or stolen vehicle pursuit, or things of that nature, or burglary now, or missing child, then our deputies, it's their routine to request our helicopter unit to come over to give some additional coverage from the air. The aero unit and the helicopter is not specific just for Carson. They'll have a certain amount of helicopters up that'll cover the south area of LA County, and then additional to cover the North County, which, from Malibu, Santa Clarita, Palmdale, Lancaster area. So let's say, for example, I'm a regular patrol deputy and I get a call of a robbery at, let's just say Crown Drugs on University and Avalon. I respond, I coordinate my units, we contain the area. And so the deputy will request the helicopter to come over. The helicopter could be leaving a call from Norwalk, or could be leaving a call from Linwood, or could be leaving a call from Lameda. And then they will come over to provide aerial surveillance and additional information to help the deputies hopefully capture that person. But the aerial unit is not specific just for Carson, but they cover the southern part of the county.
Okay, thank you so much, Captain.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I see Constance Turner. You have a question, Constance?
Yes, I do. Thank you for letting me ask my question as well. Edison is already involved, because I'm involved with the Olympics coming to Los Angeles from the city of Inglewood side, because we've got SoFi Stadium and stuff there, and they've got tons of events. I have not heard anything or gotten an invitation to participate in this particular meeting, and we need to be on board with this one as well. So if you could get me a name and telephone number, email address that we can reach out to be a part of this committee meeting, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll reach out and I'll figure out who was the actual coordinator of the meeting, because I just received the invite, but I'll reach out to try to figure who the coordinator was and pass it. What's your contact information now?
It's you want me to put it in the chat? Can you see the
That'd be
chat?
perfect. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Chat.
Yeah, I'll do. I'll do it right now.
If that doesn't work, I'm happy to put the two in connection.
Also, as far as the air, we had an emergency last year, actually earlier part of this year, where we had the earthquake, big fire, and the oil companies started flaring their leftover gas that was in their pipes. It looked like Carson was on fire, and I got a call. I was in West LA, and I got a call from one of my daughters, and I came out, and I was assured when I saw 2 helicopters was on the job, and we started hearing the reports to Channel 9 that what that was. We looked up, we saw the police, the sheriff patrols out there in that area where we have all our oil companies. That was assuring how that was coordinated. I like the way the air patrol plus the cars on the ground, and plus the communication from you to the radio and television stations, which was of concern, alerted us and assured us what was going on and people were in control. I just want to give you that shout out.
Yeah, and I got to give our refineries a good acknowledgement too, because when that happens, because it's not even just when the earthquake, there are other times when they burn off the excess gas that they can't capture. Because what happens is when there's an unexpected change in this gases that they can't capture, they'll burn off that excess hydrocarbon gases or whatever. And what they do, they have what's called safety monitors, safety fence monitors at the refineries, and it measures the amount of gas that's being released and different things. And so they're always checking that, and they'll immediately reach out to me or someone from my team. Most time they beat us before we reach out to them to make sure it's not some type of emergency. And whenever we have the opportunity, I remember when that earthquake happened, our social media PIO was able to just put out a little safety message to try to reassure the residents that, hey, it was not a fire, it's all controlled, and this is done purposefully.
Yes, that was very assuring. Captain, if you have some other issues, I would like to have some of our people to give you some questions. But one of my basic ones is that I really like your policy of conflict resolution, and I really like that. You have a policy of conflict resolution. You can kind of explain that, and then I'll open it up for questions from the people attending this important meeting.
Yeah. So as we know, there are times when we are going to respond to calls for service, and the outcome of the call, the resident, the person calling, the informant, they won't be happy with what the outcome is. And sometimes it is a situation where our deputies' behavior could have been better. There's times when our deputies' behavior should have been better. And then there are times when our deputies' behavior was correct. It's just the department's policy or procedure. So it's not necessarily a complaint or an issue with the deputy personally, so it's not a personnel complaint, but it's more of a service complaint. The person may not like just the procedures of the department. And so one thing we do offer to try to give explanation is we offer conflict resolution. And in that is, if a person has an issue with how, a call was handled, and they call to make a complaint, because we don't ever deter anyone from making a complaint. We want everyone to feel open and free to make complaints, because in each complaint, we want them to know also it will be investigated thoroughly and looked at clearly. But let's just say we investigated and we realized, hey, you know what? Our deputies didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but we see how that could have been interpreted wrong. Or sometimes let's see the deputy did do something wrong. We offer what's called a conflict resolution. We'll reach out to that person making the complaint, that informant or the reporting party, and we'll say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. John Doe, our deputy, as well as we feel it'd be beneficial for our deputy and you to maybe meet and sit down and just go over and have a discussion with the supervisor in the room, and we can figure out where the miscommunication happened or where the misunderstanding happened, or just to give clarity on a thing. And we found that's been so beneficial, not only to the residents, but it's been beneficial for our deputies going forward. So yes, we totally I love when for those who may have issues with how something was handled are willing to participate in our conflict resolution. But not only looking at the station from the conflict resolution, one big thing we're always pushing with our community members is understanding how to properly deal with conflict resolution themselves. We know times are tough. It's stressful times, gas prices, inflation, food, and everything else. And so, unfortunately, we do still get a number of calls to family disturbances. We do get a number of calls to domestic violence calls, and they're so disheartening, as well as child abuse and different aggravated assault calls. And so we're always talking with folks and putting out messaging on the importance of getting along and dealing with folks. I think it was, I don't remember the exact month, but sometime last year, the city of Carson puts out this quarterly magazine. And one of the things I wrote on was how to deal with differences and appropriately deal. Yeah. What was that, sir? Someone say something? Oh,
Go ahead.
That's-
No, that was our chairman speaking. But
no, I was
keep going.
I was just saying one of the things that I put out was to help people appropriately deal with differences, that violence isn't the answer, or getting nasty, or tearing folks down isn't the answer. So one of the things that we're always pushing on when we're out in the community and when we're talking to folks is tolerance. Is allowing people to be seen and heard, is diversity, is equity, as well as with the city of Carson, as diverse as it is inclusion and appreciating all the differences. So that's some of the things how we push and we deal with conflict resolution when it comes to our officers in the community, as well as with helping the community be successful and keeping violence down.
Do you think maybe you could go to Washington, D.C. and talk to some of those people about those issues you just discussed? Those very large children?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I would like to open up for at least a few questions before, but I have our chairman, Richard Chang, had raised a question. Mr. Chang, are you available to speak to your question? Mr. Chang?
Okay.
I think he's on the line with somebody else at the moment.
Okay.
While we wait for him, there's a couple things I just want to make sure I go over. You guys being business owners, some basic safety things, just to remind you all. Remember how important it is. If you see something that doesn't look right or strange, please, sir, please, ma'am, report that suspicious behavior. We think a lot of times people see things and they're like, oh, it's not no big deal. And it's like, no, if it stands out and it doesn't belong, it's okay for you to bring it to someone's attention. We also believe, make sure in your either shopping center or your business or where in your industrial place, get to know the other owners in the area. A lot of times people come and go, we're all in our daily routine or hustle and bustle. And you're like, okay, I get to work at 7 a.m. I leave at 5 p.m. But they never get to know who's in the business next door. Make sure you're meeting those owners or meeting those workers or those people who are working in the businesses next to you, because we think when you work together in unity and you're having a relationship and you're communicating, that's what criminals don't like. So make sure you're getting acquainted with those neighboring businesses. Please make sure we're taking a hard look at your business, to look at the layout, look at some of your practices, look at some of your security and vulnerable areas, to make sure you're not helping yourself be some type of victim of crime. If you have a store or a business, let's try to make sure we don't have those areas where people can go hide behind.
It won't be there, right?
To make sure, there's we don't have it where people can go in dressing rooms or in bathrooms and boost things or put things in bags or put on additional clothing. If you have cash register or that type of business, you want to make sure at night, please empty the register. Please do not leave money overnight inside the register. Leave it open, leave it unlocked. Let's try to make sure the windows in the front aren't hidden a lot of times people put up all the different signs because a lot of times, they want to do marketing and they put all these signs up in their front window, but they're blocking anyone from being able to see in. So the public or law enforcement driver by can't see in. So to make sure that you're not blocking and creating an area where a criminal can feel they can easily hide to take advantage or commit robbery or burglary or whatever it may be. If you do have a security system at your business, and we know you have different employees that open and close, so you need to share sometime the password or code, but let's just make sure we're limiting who has those security codes on the alarms or who has all those keys. Just make sure we try our best to keep it on a need to know basis and to those who may only need to know. And then if employees are either terminated or they resign or they leave, then we need to change those passwords and change those codes and maybe even change those keys. If you have a business where you have an inventory or a bunch of equipment and a bunch of supplies, make sure you have a sufficient and a good inventory or equipment or supply control system, because we don't want it to where, one a day someone is stealing an item and you're not recognizing before you know it, they're stealing they've stolen a high number of items and they're selling it on some back undercover web page or look at me or whatever it is. Invest in, like I said, good locks, if you do have a safe, bolt it down, make sure it's bolted down well, have a good cameras and alarm system. I know a lot of times people will put cameras up, but they're not recording anything. And yeah, that works a little bit as a deterrent, but it really helps law enforcement and it helps those who are committing crime from continue to do it when we have some type of recording device connected to it. And I know that can get expensive in space, but maybe you can say, hey, you know what, every 2 weeks I'll tape over or whatever, whether it be some type of cloud or whether it be some type of memory stick, have it where you can tape over every 2 weeks, but not to tape or record at all. Sometimes it really hurts us because we think, oh man, there's a camera there and that's going to help us get that license plate, that's going to help us get the description, and then we go to that business and they're like, oh sir, it doesn't record, it's just there, and it's like, oh man, that would have been so beneficial because the description of this suspect seemed to match the same description of a suspect they had in Lomita or they had in Torrance or they had in Long Beach. And so it helps us work collectively together. And then unfortunate part of it is we do know sometimes there is vandalism and spray painting. We suggest please clean up vandalism as soon as possible. It's kind of that, we all heard of that broken window syndrome. And, when we clean it up and we get it down, it just seems to deter, for some reason, people feeling they can come to that area and take advantage. And then, what you guys have here with our chamber and being involved in our business watch, put those signs up. We found putting business watch signs up and putting business watch stickers up and things of that nature just show that you're in it and together in unison, and it's like, hey, this is my business here at this address, but I'm also looking out for the business down the way. It seems to help with deterring other from committing crime. So that's just some other things I wanted to make sure that I was sharing with you guys all today.
That is great insight. That is beautiful information, especially about community policing and also counseling, as you were doing, our business community, and especially our small business and our mom and pop shops. That's important for them to hear. The other issue is that I'm going to open it up for maybe 3 more questions. I noticed that Mr. Chang was asking a question. Did we contact him? Richard, do you want to speak at this time? If not, I'll open it up for a couple of more questions. Okay. Any other questions for our esteemed captain of the?
I wanted to mention another thing that people should be aware of. So thank you so much for reminding us not to be victims, and the fact that there are a lot of things that are under our control. And along that line, one I wanted to mention this: the most common crime in the South Bay is items stolen out of cars. Don't leave your purse in the car. Don't leave your wallet in the car. Don't leave your cell phone in the car, and don't leave it unlocked. It is amazing to me because I get the crime logs in Lomita every week, and the vast majority of crimes has something to do with a car. that we see, and I'm told that that's common throughout the South Bay. So let's just not make it easy. Let's not make ourselves victims.
You're right there. And you know what? The thing is not only just leaving in the car, but people seem to leave things visible. Yeah, when you get out the car, please, like he said, either take the phone charge cord out or at least put it in the glove compartment or center console. Please, like he said, don't leave your purse on the seat. In that same thing, we've seen a lot of the women, they'll get to a location and they'll open their trunk and they go set the purse inside the trunk. And yeah, that's great that you try to think safety, but you got to remember the criminal is sitting in the car, in the aisle, and he's watching what everyone's habits. So if you're going to go to a place and you're not going to take either your bag in or your purse or whatever it is, or you have some other item, what I suggest is pull over maybe a block or two before you get to your destination, take out your keys or whatever you need to take out, place it in the trunk there, and then drive a block or two to where you're actually going, so that when you get there, you pull up, you park. If you have a club, you put your club on, set your alarm, and you get out, and that criminal doesn't see you pop the trunk and go set those items inside the trunk. So, because a lot of times these are crimes of opportunity. You have someone who's looking someone quick to just smash a window, and like Barry said, unfortunately, open the door that's left unlocked, grab something, and keep on their way.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, please.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes, Mr. Chang. Thank you.
I asked the captain about the Carson Surf Station Support Foundation. What's happening currently with the foundation?
The foundation is moving strong. We've actually went back to in-person meetings with the foundation, and the foundation is constantly looking to recruit and have folks involved and engaged. The foundation has been very supportive. I don't know if we did a Helping Hands project a little over a month ago, and what we did, it was on Channel 11 News, and it was with the support of the foundation and some of the businesses. What we did is we went out to the Shell gas station as well as the Ralph's on Carson Street, and with the help of Norms, we even went up to Norms, and the foundation support as well as some of these businesses, we were able to just find random folks. We kind of mirrored it after the Help for Honda people. We called it our Helping Hands project. I was out there, and when folks pulled up, we became a blessing to them. We walked up to them, was like, hey, sir, we see you got this vehicle. We see gas prices are $6.80 a gallon. Let us get you $50 worth of gas. And so we were able to help a bunch of folks and get gas.
I like that.
It was really great. It was really refreshing. And I think, honestly, some of my deputies got more out of it than the community members that we helped out. And then we went over to Ralph's and did the same thing. One of the ladies, I never forget, we seen her shopping cart, and it was full with, necessities, but we can tell it was necessities for children and, little snacks and different things. And so we walked up to her, we're like, hey, ma'am, we explained who we were, and we told her, hey, what's your family makeup? She's like, hey, I'm a hardworking mom. I got 4 kids. And we're like, you know what? We want to get those groceries on us. And so we were able to help a bunch of people out. We were able to get a couple of veterans some meals over at Norm. So it was a very good day. But it was the foundation that was very supportive and helping us and giving us the funding to be able to go out and do that. And the foundation, one of my goals that I mentioned to you was the EOC, building making sure our emergency operations center is appropriate. And the foundation has already said they're going to be very supportive in trying to make sure we have a EOC that is conducive and able to respond to whatever type of emergency. So the foundation is doing well, and they're always looking to get more folks involved.
Thank you, Captain, for your insight, your counseling, your information, and you gave us a lot of aspiration too, but to protect ourselves and to work with you. The chamber is supportive of your goals and aspirations as we speak. And we appreciate your time given to us in the chamber, because without good protection, safety, we can't have economic development or business. So thank you for your time. If you want to hear the rest of our meeting, please do so. I'd like to now call on Barry Waite Barry, you have some insights on some specific ordinances and development initiatives that you can kind of give us an overview. And I noticed that Latoya Butler is she still on
No,
this call?
Latoya had an 11 o'clock meeting, so we lost her just a minute ago.
All right.
But we do have some important things to report on from the city. One is that the city has, the city council approved two programs last week, the Small Business Grant Program and the Facade Improvement Program, both of which we supported, and these are using the American Recovery Plan funds. And so we're very glad to see that, particularly the Facade Improvement Program to help our commercial centers get spruced up. And the city has run programs like this in the past through block grant, but that was limited solely to properties within block grant target areas. So that was very limited. And also there were a lot of strings that came along with it because it was federal funds. So this program, it's still federal funds, but they have cut the strings way down. And so it's going to be a lot easier for businesses to actually make use of these funds. So we're very excited about that. We're still working with the city on this proposal to require a CUP for any logistics related project, 5,000 square feet or larger. We don't think that's the best way to handle this. And so we've been working with the city to come up with something that works better. And I think those are the important things. And then I wanted to introduce our intern, Emma Feth. Emma is a Carson High student. She is going into her senior year. And she has been a great help to us here at the chamber office. Amy and I have really appreciated it. She's making us work hard. She asks lots of good questions. And anyway, the first business visitation that I took her along to, a few hours later, they went online and joined as a member. So we figure she's definitely bringing us some good luck, but we're glad to have her here. She's through EXP, formerly ITEP, and I know some of the others here also have EXP interns. I got to interview, 7 or 8, I think. All of them were great. She was our first choice and she took us. So we were very excited about that. Anyway, so that's going to be a big win for everybody. And we just got to get her on the payroll. But, you know, there's no bureaucracy like bureaucracy, and we've got our own. So, but we're glad to have her with us. And I think that's it. We've got some events coming up. And, oh, I'm sorry, I do have one other very important thing. Let me pull this out. So we are working on an ad campaign. Let's see. And it's going to be something like this. And I say like this because this is just sort of a galley proof and not a final. And so that will be a circular going out to the community. And so we're going to do the front and back cover with the chamber, and then have businesses get advertising inside. So by our getting the front and back cover, that's subsidizing the cost for businesses within it. So we're looking forward to that. So perfect timing here with 4th of July coming up. So Carson is open for business. We got a lot going on.
Yes, you do. Thanks, Barry. The items for this committee, economic development, in the future, the beginning of the fiscal year is July 1st. This year ends, so fiscal year is June 30th. We're going to be outreaching to the city, to their finance director, to see about not only how they brought in money, but how they plan to dispense the money for the next fiscal year. And that's Tariq Ramani. Will be contacting him for a future meeting. Also, we're going to have an analysis of pending development projects. We'll offer some more information. We're looking at finding out about this Carson Landing townhomes, so the business community can understand this major 175 homes is coming into our community, and how those people and how they want to do more business in the city who are developing that project. And also we want to do an event or meeting to discuss further information on infrastructure in the annual report that we can generate with the city on infrastructure, streets, roads, sidewalks, how they're going to fix this community and how many miles of new roads we will get, or new resurfacing projects. And those are some of our aims. And if you have any further oral communication, please do it, give it to us at this time. If you have any oral communication. Okay. If not hearing that, I move for adjournment, Barry. I think we had a very good meeting, and I am very much in awe of our new captain who has answered many of the questions and that we were asking about protection of our community.
So, and if you want to see something fun, go to YouTube and look up the 1974 version of Gone in 60 Seconds, and you will see that much of that car chase is done in Carson, including by the sheriff's station where they were doing the groundbreaking at the time. So the 1974 city council is actually in the meeting, or in the film. And so I don't know how they arranged that, and nobody I've talked to in years since knows how that was done, but it was really interesting. And then of course, more recently in long running with the show Reno 911, which it wasn't Reno, that was Carson. And so they were great hosts for that. And the movie industry says that our station is great to work with, and that brings business to town. And we appreciate that, and brings a good name of Carson to the rest of the world. So thank you, Captain, for your deputies being so welcoming to Hollywood.
Well, I concur the positivity of our sheriff station. And with that, I move to adjourn the meeting, and thank you for your time.